Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you are watching or listening to this, and welcome to Link Up Leaders, your direct link to leaders in supply chain and e-commerce. My name is Lisa Kinsky. I'm your producer and co-host, and joined as always by Francois Jaffray. Francois, how are you doing today?
Good. I was telling you before this, we forgot to turn on the AC, and it is hot. So I might get a little misty, as you said, but we're good. The blood's flowing today. So
when you say hot, how warm is it at your place?
It is 74, and it's muggy. So
Okay,
it's muggy outside, so it's muggy in here. So he's cranked it down right now. So
you got the fans running. Have you got fans in that apartment since there's such high ceilings?
We don't have fans. No.
None.
No.
Oh, golly.
It's just central ACs. I'm waiting for it to catch up.
You need to get a couple standing fans and just have them oscillating on both sides.
Yeah, they're in the closet. I'm far too lazy to go out and actually grab them and set them up, which is 5 minutes, but that's besides the point.
Oh, well, take care of it later.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, very excited this morning to speak with Anatoly Spektor. He is calling us from Bali, and it's actually 9:30 p.m. there. And we're going to go ahead and welcome to the show with a big fat congratulations. I have the inside scoop. He just had a baby a week ago. So welcome and congratulations.
Thank you, guys. Happy to be here.
We're thrilled to have you, dear. And I would love, of course, we're going to be talking all about your shows, all about e-commerce podcasting and your journey to 10 million. But, I definitely also want to talk about your entrepreneurial time management skills, because boy, do you have a lot going on. But before we get into that, for anybody who's not familiar with you, let's just go on ahead and jump right in. Tell us a little bit about your story.
Okay. Yeah. So I host a podcast called 10 Million Journey, which is where I talk to amazing people and scale my businesses 10 million, and also talk to people who are several steps ahead to pick up their brain. I'm an e-commerce entrepreneur. I sell on Amazon. I also do IT consulting. Born in Latvia, raised in Latvia, which is a small country in Eastern Europe. Decided to leave at 2008 because I thought that's crazy. It's pretty depressing. Post-Soviet country, there's no real opportunities, and I didn't know what I wanted to be. So I was pretty depressed at 18. I didn't know, like many people, what do I want to do, and moved to Canada by myself. Decided to do software development in a couple of years, finished the school and was able to work in some of the best companies, but thought, man, that's pretty boring. I want to do something for myself, and every company I was in, I would give it my all, and then somebody else would come, or something would happen and it would get bust, or didn't get funding, everybody get laid off and things like that. And I didn't like it. So I started to do my own consultancy for e-commerce, and also started to do consultancy for software development and helping teams to work together. And then e-commerce came into place because I also wanted to life of freedom, travel around the world. And me and my wife was always thinking, okay, we need to travel and have fun. And thankfully, 2 years ago, we did that. When our son was born, he was 2 years old. We decided to leave it all and go travel around the world. So I was working remotely for IT consulting, and we were building business together with my wife. And we traveled all around in France and Spain and Israel and Toronto and Canada. Then we went to Latvia, where we're from, and Portugal, and all kind of places. And now we ended up in Bali, and my wife just gave birth to our second child, and it's a blessing to travel, to work, and to have fun. That's in short about myself.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Very jealous.
Very
jealous.
So I'm a big fan of your podcast.
Thank you.
I haven't had a chance to listen to the hour-long episodes that you have, but the 5 to 10 minute clips that you have, I've listened to at least 10 to 15 of them. And it's interesting the way that you're able to be so open and honest with your journey. So all the way from actually talking about how many units you sold on Prime Day to, the profitability behind it, the margins, and what the actual net was, which is insane. No one actually talks about this. Lisa, I'm not sure. Yeah. Do you know anyone else that everyone talks about like 300,000,
No.
400,000 in gross, but no one says like, oh yeah, my net was, $2,000, $3,000.
I think maybe the closest that we got was when Carlos was sharing his story when he was first starting out, talking about like crickets and stuff. He was not giving exact figures, but talking about like, breaking even and, X amount. And that was probably the closest that we got. But I don't know anybody else who does that.
Yeah. So my biggest problem was before I started the podcast, why I did start it, is that I would listen to everything and people would talk about successes all the time. And I would be very inspired, you're making millions of dollars, but I'm like, I'm not there and I'm struggling all the time. It's a really hard journey. And if you want to get into the details of it, we definitely can, because I was struggling a lot and learned a lot. But I was like, I'm struggling, but these guys are always good. So I'm like, but then I meet those guys and I know that they're not good because we talk and they're like, I'm struggling as well. And I'm like, why are you not sharing that? They're like, people like to see cool stories, but I want to be vulnerable. I'm fine with saying how crazy things are happening, how my first product just, I don't know, we launched it and we lost $10,000, or how our supplier ran away with like huge amount of money in products. And for me, this is, people go for it all the time. People write me notes and saying, Anatoly, I'm in the same boat. My product gets suspended, and don't worry, everything's gonna be fine. And they resonate. They resonate because I mostly talk about actually the failure, not as much about success, because I did have some success, but not as much as people who are making like millions and millions of dollars. And I'm very honest if my margins and everything, because you're right, people are saying, oh, I made $1 million, but then when I asked about their margins, they actually made like 50,000 because their margins are very slim. And you're like, well, that's amazing that you could grow something to $1 million, but you're not rich and you're not making that much money. Like you're making money as like average employee, I guess, for actually not even the average employee, but the employee that's not working very well. So yeah, for me, it's very, very important to be honest, I guess.
That was my biggest harp when I first started at Noviland, and I was learning about, e-commerce and Amazon selling and supply chain. And I would see all these YouTube videos and I'm like, you guys are just talking about your gross. You're just talking about your revenue numbers. What's your profit? Like this from the jump, I could tell. I was like, these folks aren't being truthful. But I want to back up to something that you said before. Did you say that your supplier made off with thousands of dollars of your product?
Yeah, I mean, I have lots of crazy stories, but one of the stories was we decided to launch a new product, new supplement, and we found it was very hard to find suppliers. I called about 150 of them, and nobody would like to make a small batch of the supplement because it was very hard to make. So we found one. And it's a bad sign for people who are listening. If you cannot find anyone to do stuff for you and you find one, be careful, because that one, there's something wrong with them. Why are they willing to work with you and nobody else does? But again, you try and you learn. So we were with them. They made a small batch of this supplement for us. It was fine. And then the second batch, it all melted out. So supplement, everything melted. And we're like, well, you know what? You need to give us your money back because, well, we don't really want to work with you. If it melts in your factory, what we're going to do? And it was about $12,000 to $15,000 worth of inventory, and we already paid for it. And he's like, you know what? I'm not going to do anything. I don't think, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to deal with you. And he just stopped picking up the phone. We sent him a couple letters. We wanted to sue him, but then I'm like, you know what? That's a good lesson. I'm just going to take it and I'm going to move on because I don't want any stress with courts and stuff. I just don't need that. So we just moved on. But that was one of the situations. And we had agreements. We had everything. So everything is very legal, but things happen. People just stressful times, I guess. COVID, I don't know what it was. I think just guy was not very legit and we did not check it very much, but it is what it is, and just move on.
Well, that's a big issue that I see a lot of sellers struggle with is they'll take a course, and I have my own opinion on courses. This is when Lisa first started. She started discovering what courses were, and I've spoken to a few more coaches, and I've changed a few of my perspectives on them. I think there are tremendous values in courses. They help pave the way to a lot of people that don't know anything. But a lot of them also feed a bit of bullshit, right? A little bit of, hey, you're going to drive these Ferraris within 6 months or make $10,000 in 3 months. And they don't really say much. And the training itself is going back to what you just experienced or with that one supplier. It's, hey, make sure you have all these agreements in place. Make sure they sign a triple N. Make sure you send them this questionnaire and they check all the boxes. But I mean, $10,000 to $15,000, your litigation is going to cost more than that itself. And the time that you're going to have to invest is, I hope, going to be worth more than $10,000 to $15,000 in the next few months. Which is why, agreements are great to have, but they're more of just a something to refer to in your partnership rather than like, hey, this is contractually binding. You have to abide by it. Something goes wrong, you got to work with it.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. And in regards to courses, I have an opinion because I took a course. So when me and my wife, we did some drop shipping before, and the margins for Slim, we found about Amazon from the course. And then we bought a course that was very expensive, about $5,000, which for us at that time, and even now, it's a lot of money for anyone. And we paid for it. I think it was important to get the course because it explains you how to set stuff up. So I think in terms of if you're just starting up and you want to set things up, I think now YouTube videos there are more YouTube videos about that. When we're starting out in about 4 or 5 years ago, there was not too much. So for us, how to set up your Sales Central, how to set up everything in place, that everything is correct, it really helped us. Where it did not exactly help us was finding a product. And that was our fault as well. I know a couple of people who are using those courses, they're finding amazing products. But for us, it was like, find what sells and sell the same thing. That's what I understood. So when we were looking through products, we found a list of them. And one of the things that caught our eye was binoculars, kids' binoculars. It was like, it met all the criteria. And I looked at it and it's like, it's green and people sell green binoculars for kids' binoculars. So we should sell green because it's color that sells. That's my logic. It's not great logic, but that was my logic at the time. So we found the supplier who makes green binoculars and we're like, we need to make it a little bit better. So we're like, what else do you have? They have magnifying glass, small magnifying glass. We're like, okay, just put it in a kit and we'll make it Kids Explorer kit. And then we had our green binoculars, the Kid Explorer kit. About 5 months in, it was on Amazon. But then when you look at it, it's the same green binoculars like everyone else. We have 0 reviews. People have hundreds of reviews. We didn't make any research. People need this magnifying glass or not. We didn't make any research what imagery we need to put or anything of that sort. We just decided and assumed a bunch of things as young, new entrepreneurs. And now I don't do that anymore. We have the whole system. But at that point, well, we never asked the question, why should people buy our stuff? I think if people are listening and they're just starting out, I think that's the most important question. If you're launching any product, you need to Photoshop it in Amazon before, like, make 3D mockup, Photoshop it, and ask yourself, why would somebody buy this with 0 reviews? And if you don't have an answer to that, don't launch the product. And we did launch and it didn't sell. So we're like, oh, it didn't sell. And then at some point, I remember I was at a ski hill in Whistler, Canada, because I like skiing, and then I would look at my Seller Central, which is Amazon app, and it would say 7 sales, and I would be like, wow, I finally start to make sales. For like about 3-4 months, nothing sold. And then I think my other competitors went out of stock or something happened. Maybe it was like Mother's Day. I don't know. Amazon sometimes send promotions, but our things start to go. And it would sell 7 a day. And we just had 200 units we ordered. And I remember we're like, oh, now we need to order more because we were going to run out of stock. 7 a day, every day. We're going to be rich. And it's going to be amazing. And I remember next day was like 5. We're like, we're still selling, so let's do it. So we ordered 1,000 units. Our binoculars are very expensive. For some reason, they costed $10 a piece. And so I put $10,000 in, and then they stopped selling. And that was a big lesson, to give it more time to analyze and just to don't rush. And it took us about a year to sell out those at a cost. So nobody really wanted to buy them that much. And for Q4, people usually buy toys in Amazon. So we did sell out. So we're a little bit lucky. I also remember there were some certificates we had to apply for and pay lots of money. So people don't think about those kind of things as well. If you deal with the toys or some, you need some safety certificates, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So there are a bunch of stuff that people need to read about and read rules and regulations before they get into things, because it's very easy to lose money. There are so many catch things that can go wrong. So it's just very important.
Do the courses tell you that? Do they tell you
No.
to spend this time to
No.
research now?
No, I don't think they did. At least I don't remember they did. But yeah, that's what I tell, at least in my podcast. Every time the whole system we have right now is to look for Amazon restricted products, look for patents, look for a bunch of things. So we have the whole process, and we create 3D mockups for every product we want to launch. Then we do split test it with what sells on Amazon and see if some people want to buy it or not. So we do
On
a whole
PickFu?
bunch of things. Yeah, we use PickFu for that.
Nice.
To split test, and I'm taking the best thing that sells on Amazon for the keyword and my thing. Sometimes my thing wins, which is amazing, but often people will tell me, okay, this is a problem with my thing, so I would improve it and then try it again. And sometimes I don't win, but at least there will be, 30% of people who want to buy it. And I'm like, that's enough. If I compare with somebody who has thousands of reviews and my thing that is different, people choose mine, that's an honor to have it. So
do you because I know we just had Anthony on from PickFu. I think he's an ambassador for them, I think. And he was saying that amazing, very, very intelligent, and knows a shit when it comes to A/B and split testing. But do you read what feedback the people that choose your product over the other products say? Yeah, like, do they give a reason?
Always, yes. And PickFu always, they say, I choose this because it has that. I choose, some of them is not very logical, or some of that are not something that we can work with. Let's say we are launching a kitchen brand now, so it's very it's opinionated. So some people like wood, some people like other stuff. So, but if we have enough people who say, I would love to have it in my home, I would love to buy it, I would definitely choose this compared to something that sells on Amazon hundreds of units a day. We're like, well, then there will be a market for it. So that's very important. I think more and more people should do that, because, well, you're investing a lot of money in your inventory. And these days, well, China is so slow that you have to buy a lot of units. So we start with about 1,000 units. So we invest a lot of money. Some of our products might cost $15, $16. So we need to make sure that it works. So at least to have some level of certainty that we can sell it. And then we always look for margins that are pretty big. So I'm looking at making about $10 to $15 from every product I sell, not less, so that I can, if I need to go down the price, I still have a lot of room for that. My products are not very expensive. Let's say $27 to $50. So $10, $15 is pretty good profit. And usually we can sell it at that point. But we also, if not, at least we can decrease the price and still reduce the risk. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And we've actually got a question from Megla. First, she said, "Hi there to two of my favorite people." We'll all ponder on who those two are out of the three.
Those two are probably me included, I hope.
Yeah, you at least, I'm sure.
But she also asks a great question. Do your PickFu winners always or mostly sell well on Amazon? So the items that the poll respondents are saying that they prefer, are those usually some pretty solid sellers on Amazon?
Yeah, I mean, we do a couple of things. We always do things differently. So everybody. How should I say that? The first thing is that it needs to look different on the main image. I think that's very important. If it doesn't look different on the main image, it doesn't matter if you're PickFu. Like, what do you do with PickFu? So, people on PickFu, when you split test, need to understand how different is yours. So we take always our main image and go against somebody who's selling well. So that also means that if they choose ours is different. And so we make it as different as possible. Not always better, but different material, different color, different target audience, and stuff like that. And if it matches with what people need, and when we continuously improve, so if they say we don't like the color, we try different color and then see what they like until we can at least be either win the main guy or be 60-40. We don't go and launch products. So that gives us some certainty for sure. And it also shows that we can make something different because, well, people will choose the best one that sells on Amazon most of the time if we don't make something different or better.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, most of the time it wins.
Do you base that on like the product that you're comparing it to? Do you base that on the keywords that product comes up for also?
Yeah, just on keywords, because Amazon is a search engine. Mm-hmm. It's not even products, it's keywords. And when people do research, I think a lot of people focus too much on products, whereas if people search for keywords, and then if you can give them the best version of what they're searching, the keyword they're searching for, that's where you win. So when we do product research, we always look for keywords. We need to make sure that the product is described by at least 40-50 keywords. They can be low search volume, but we try to find some of them high search volume, some of them low, so we can position it easily in different keywords, and then it allows us to sell pretty nicely. So if we can get like a big keyword, big search volume keyword, we can get to smaller ones, and then we'll still sell. So it's very important to see, like, if you find a product, make sure there's enough keywords to describe your product. Otherwise, well, if you can position on Amazon.
That's a really good way to think about it, because whenever you're going to launch a product or a service, you always want to think of it as the solution to a problem somebody has. And obviously, you're right, with the keyword, ultimately they're looking to fulfill a need for a problem that they have. So you're absolutely right. And Francois, before you move ahead, we also have Ryan on here saying, "What's up, fam? What's up, Ryan? Good morning."
I heard you went back to babyface, Ryan.
Aw.
You told me that.
Not babyface. I said Ryan shaved.
You said Brian shaved.
You to pulled me, that's out the BF term.
No, we love Ryan. Big fan.
That's how you know that we're constant watchers of your show, Ryan.
Yeah,
we pay attention.
Is there such a thing as too many keywords? I know you said about 50 keywords is what you look for, but is that the cutoff, or can you say like, hey, let's get up to 100?
Well, let's get as many as possible. I mean, there's not too many keywords. There's some keywords that are very competitive. That's a big problem. Some people try to go for keywords that have search volume of, like, I don't know, 20,000, 50,000, 60,000, 100,000. Well, if there's so many people are searching for it, most of the time, sometimes there's winners in there, but most of the time the market is so saturated that all the main ideas are taken care of. And if you want to get there, you'll have to do something crazy to position yourself. So yeah, that's the worst. So if there are a lot of keywords that are low search volume, that's amazing. I mean, and for me, low search volume, I look for something not more than like 10,000 searches. I would look at tool like Helium 10 or Brand Analytics.
Is that a month?
Yeah. I think Helium 10 shows it a month. So I would look at about 10,000 searches maximum. And I know that it won't sell like, I don't know, 150 a day. Probably it won't sell. But I know that I could probably position myself and sell 20, 30 a day. And with me doing $15 from each of them, that's pretty good. In my opinion. I don't know. Some people will say, who are making like tens of millions of dollars, will say, wow, that's not enough. But if you launch, I like to diversify these days. So I like to launch more products that sell maybe 20, 30 a day. 10 is fine with me. 10 will be a cutoff. Like if it doesn't sell 10 a day in a couple of months, I'll probably cut it off. But if it sells 10s a day, makes me $150 a day in pure profit, that's good for me. I'm gonna keep it.
Sounds like a win for sure.
Yeah, summer luck.
I said it's a summer luck.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about. scale. And to those that say, hey, if it's not selling $1 million or anything like that, I would just say, hey, put up your numbers like Anatoly. Put up your net profits like Anatoly does. But going back to the podcast that you have, and you talk a lot about the journey, and I know we've touched on sort of some of the products and the research that you put into them. We sort of touched on that process. A big part of your podcast also is about talking with suppliers and just going after, I know you had one specifically on Alibaba and reaching out to Alibaba, suppliers on Alibaba, and a different search methodology that you use, supplier versus product. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. And I stole it from somewhere, so it's not really my unique idea. But a lot of people searching for Alibaba, when you go, there's drop down, you can search for products. And when you search for products, you'll see same suppliers over and over again. The problem is that, you need to find a supplier, not a product, because if supplier is good, they can make any product. And so what I do is I search for suppliers. So I always select a supplier instead of product. Then I put my keywords, and I'll get just a list of suppliers that can satisfy that product. And then I would look at their metrics. So I can see right away if they have trade assurance, if they're a gold supplier, how many years they're in business. And then I give my virtual assistant the whole criteria that he finds me suppliers for. And then we reach out to those suppliers and just ask them if they can make certain products. And most of the time they can. Also, the good idea that a lot of people don't know is in China, different regions make different things. So let's say some regions are good for textiles, some regions are good for wood, let's say. So if you Google and find out which of them are good for something, then you can narrow it down, and there's a better chance to find a better supplier, because you'll find a region where those suppliers make good products from this material.
And they same thing in India. I learned that from Megla actually a few weeks ago on her podcast, actually, when she was hosting other manufacturers on her podcast. When you reach out to them, so there's a few parts that I agreed with when I was listening. There were a few parts that I disagree. It's all a matter of everyone's process, right?
For sure.
But you mentioned reaching out to them and sending out something like a questionnaire. Is that something where it's like I guess, how many questions are in that questionnaire, and like, what do you outline in it?
Yeah, I need to take a look because I haven't looked at it for a while. My VA does it mostly, and I created maybe a year ago or a year and a half ago. But some of the things we ask is how long are they in business? Can they share some photos of their facility, because we want to see their trade. They're not a trading company, but a manufacturer. What materials they work with, what are their minimum order quantities, what are their lead times, something like that. And then if we have something in mind, can they give us a quote for certain quantities? Like if we do like 500,000, 10,000, like what's the pricing for it, and how much the sample, how long would take sample to get to us, how long is the manufacturing a sample and stuff like that. So just basic stuff to find out about the product. And we always have a product in mind. So we start with a product, we start with a 3D mock-up, so they see exactly what they need to build. And then we just send them 3D mock-up with all dimensions, and then ask them all the questions.
And do you outline like the materials also?
Yes. So we try to be as specific as possible. Materials, dimensions, any functionality that need to be. So we're trying to be as precise as possible, because anything we miss, they will miss, and then it will cost us a lot. So So we do a lot of research before we even go to manufacturers. Sometimes if I need to check if it's viable or not, we might go and ask for some quotes. So if somebody's already selling similar products, we'll just look at some quotes. And for people who are just looking at Alibaba and they see suppliers sometimes leave, this will cost from, I don't know, $5 to $10. Always ask them how much will cost, because this is like their marketing technique that they use these days. So it never costs the amount that they put in their listing in Alibaba. Same with the lead time. Recently, we had like some weird stuff, and I don't know if maybe your listeners face that as well. We would say, okay, how much would cost? They will say like $10. How much it will? How long it will take? They'll say 30 days. And we'll say, okay, send us a sample. They send us a sample. We're like, okay, we're ready to buy. They're like, okay, now it's $12. It will take 70 days. And we had about 4 manufacturers doing this to us over and over again. And we were like, that's crazy. So you just change all the rules, like just when we're ready to buy. So what we're trying now, yeah.
I'm sorry. When did this happen? Not to cut you off.
It's well, we're sourcing right now, so it happened about
I was gonna say, do you mean how recently or in what stage?
Yeah, no, like how recently has all this the 4 manufacturers that are doing
like last month. Yeah, I was actually recording an episode about that. About a month ago. And so the idea right now is to create another agreement saying that if because they also charge for samples a lot these days. Before it was like free sample, it's pay for shipping. Now we're paying like $200, $300 for samples, which is pretty crazy. Some that already have, they're asking us to pay that much. And then now how we are working around that, and I need to still test it out. We're creating another agreement, like smaller agreement before bigger agreement, that says if they change any specifics, they need to lock it in 10 days after we get a sample. If they change lead time or price or anything, then the sample will be free. They need to refund us the sample. Because what happened, we're paying like thousands of dollars for those samples if we need to make a mold or something. And then at the end of the day, when we come to agreement, we want to buy it, then we could not because it costs much more, or the lead time is much longer and it doesn't even work for us. And it was very frustrating. So that's a workaround that at least I'm trying. I'm not going to say it's working yet, but I'm trying.
I think that's going to be so we handle. I've been working with our Chinese operation teams, and I've worked directly with factories for years now. I wouldn't say I'm a pro by any means, but I would say that I've gotten just about every angle from factories and heard like the 4-hour-long conversations just to get like one thing settled. And the reason that I asked why or when this was happening, and the fact that you said in the past month, a big part in supply chain right now is raw materials fluctuating. So just the overall demand in raw materials. When it comes to the lead times, I do know we are going into peak season. I mean, there's companies right now that are ordering until next year, until next summer even. We were just talking to Rafael from Unicargo, and he's seeing something very similar, where companies are just placing massive orders just not to deal with Golden Week and the holiday season and then Chinese New Year. So they're avoiding those. But so that might extend the lead time. And obviously you and I both know it takes 70 days to make this mug. It's going to take 65 days of them making other people's products and 5 days to make your products at the end.
Yes.
But the agreement, I think, is going to be difficult, particularly when you're designing and customizing with new molds. And the only reason I say that, they don't know, or at least a lot of factories don't know when they're making these customizations, how long those assembly times are actually going to take and what sort of resources they need to pull together. And, one of their smaller suppliers might not be able to supply that part or piece anymore. Now they have to find new ones. I think it's going to be difficult. I definitely want to hear about how it goes. But those are my 2 cents. I think raw materials pricing, shipping pricing, the fact that brands are ordering much larger orders, and that there's a level of customization to these molds. Another thing that you could try, though, is mold rebates. So, asking the manufacturers if, the pricing goes up, if they can refund a part of your mold to make up for that price increase after you order X amount, let's say 20 or 50,000 units cumulatively. So
that's a good one. Yeah. Thank you. That's very valuable. I'll let you know how it goes. And again, I don't know what I don't know. Just trying to figure out the ways to minimize my losses. And it seems like I like to get samples from multiple suppliers just because it shows me the quality differences. It shows me what they can do. and it's very, very important. But until you establish relationship, I think that's until you buy a couple times from them, they would just be trying to milk you for for the most money it's possible, at least if you're ordering small quantities. And I understand them. I mean, I understand why they're doing that, and but it just for us on the other side of this, we just need to make sure that we're covering our grounds because it's very, very expensive. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But
and
in general,
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, like, in general, though, I like that you approach the product sourcing perspective from the supplier sourcing perspective, because you're kind of working with the end in mind, right? It's more of actually seeking that long-term relationship to source other products that are maybe complementary in the future, and not just this short game of, I need these pop sockets, I need these mugs, I need this bottle, who can get it to me for the cheapest, the quickest. I kind of like that long-term thinking.
Because I mean, Amazon these days is, I mean, I'm not saying Amazon just a channel, but e-commerce is about building brands. So we are building something and we will know that we're going to buy similar things. So if we are, I don't know, if we have this glass, we'll have a wine glass, we'll have other glasses. So we need to find a factory that can make it for us, different supplementary products, as you're saying. So for us, okay, first one, it might take longer, but then when we'll build relationship, and I ask my VA now to jump on a call with all of them and just talk with them, explain like who we are, and jump on a call with them once in a couple of weeks and just ask them how it goes and stuff like that. So we have the whole process now, how to deal with that, and it's all about relationship building and being nice and trying to figure out how to build a relationship for sure.
And you've mentioned your VA a couple of times now, and I want to talk about, any tips that you have for, young or just fresh or super busy entrepreneurs about time management, because you're juggling a lot. Are you depending on like a team of VAs, or like what tips would you have for folks?
Yeah, that's one of my strongest suits, because I don't like to work that much. To be honest, I'm pretty lazy, and I try to minimize my work to about 2 hours a day. So, but I do have a consultancy, IT consultancy. I do have a YouTube channel about IT. I do have 2 podcasts. I do have Amazon business. So, and I do have 2 small children, which is a lot work on itself. So for me, it's very, very important to maximize the time. And how I do that is I hire people to help me out. So in my team, I do have an Amazon project manager, I would call it that way. The person is doing mostly operations and following some procedures that we select for finding suppliers, looking for products. And then we have a bunch of contractors to create some imagery, to create 3D mockups, to do all those kind of things. I do have my personal VA. She helps me with podcasts and other stuff. I do have an editor for the podcast. So my goal is to just maximize what I do best. Let's say in a podcast world, it will be I do best to just record. So I produce a content. I move it to Dropbox, and I forget about that. So then somehow this content appeared, there's social media around it. So I have a team that helps me out with all of this. We have like a system, how to edit those podcasts, how to reach out to guests, to follow up, how to create all social media, how to upload to different things. So I don't do any of this. I actually don't know how to do any of this. I just have a team that helps me out. Same with Amazon. My goal is to find opportunities and to create partnerships. So that's all I do. And then I have people who are paying. There are people who are looking for products, who are doing sourcing and talking to manufacturers. And I would be just, if something goes wrong, they usually involve me, but most of the time I'm not there because I don't know. I'm not good at many things, but I'm good at organizing the process, and I'm very lazy. So I'm trying to do everything I can to work less, but find amazing people who I can support, and they can do amazingly well.
So essentially work smarter, not harder, and stick to what you're
Yeah.
good at and find folks who are good
Yeah.
at the other stuff to help.
Yeah, but I do hire those people. So if you want any details about how to hire them, use couple services, Upwork.com, to find somebody who is long term, because Upwork easily you can select like paying them every week and they can submit timesheets and stuff like that. And I use Loom, which is a software to record what you do on your computer. So every time I do something more than 2 times, I would record that and I would explain how I do that. Then I would give it to person and then I would say, try doing that. If you have any questions, ask me. If they ask me lots of questions, I record it again. And then I say, okay, try that again. And then they just follow those. And then if the process changes, them to record the new process, because if another person comes, they need to know how it's done. If let's say if I don't know how to do things, like let's say sourcing, I might give them some course. I might buy a course and give them a course and say, go for the course and follow that, or connect them with somebody, or hire somebody who is good at sourcing, or hire somebody who is good at product research. I would use Fiverr.com for many smaller things like 3D mockups or images or photos and stuff like that. I would use onlinejobs.ph. That's another one. Philippines, for my personal VAs. All my personal VAs are in Philippines. They manage my emails, they manage my schedule, everything of that sort. So yeah, always give standard operating procedures. I always pay them a fair amount, so I don't pay like $1 or $2. I pay I pay much more than that, and I follow up with them. I make sure they're happy and support them. They're taking time off, holidays that I pay for as well. So treating them as parts of the team and doing everything I can support them.
Almost exactly what Gilad had shared with us. Treat your VAs like a member of your team, and they will work very hard for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Gilad knows his stuff.
Yeah,
he sure does. He sure does.
But, and I know you talked about this even a little bit on one of your episodes. You talked about this agile team, and everything that you're describing with your IT background makes 100% sense. And we even do a method of this. Everyone kind of does their own form of it, right? But it's kind of this Scrum methodology that it seems like you're mostly the Scrum Master. You're finding all these different tools for them. You're making sure that they're well informed. You're making sure there's no, issues with any of their projects. But you're for the most part hands off.
Yes.
Do you let your VAs interact with, not let them, but do you have them interact with each other to make more of a cohesive team?
Yeah. So let's say Dropbox, podcast is a good example. So in a podcast, I have a person who edits podcasts, I have a person who uploads and schedules, and a person who does social media. So those 3 people is part of the chain. So they are connected with each other and they know when to hand off their work to other persons so they can start. And usually it's through Dropbox. So they upload something to certain folders, and then the other person knows to pick it up and then do their part. So yeah, and for me, I just usually approve some creative or something like that. And I do it maybe first 5-6 times, and if I don't like it, I'll just hire other person who is more aligned to what I'm looking for, because I'm looking for people smarter than me, better than me. I'm not looking for something like me who I can control. I don't like being micromanager controlling. I like people to do an amazing job, and I just support them in their job and say, good job, you're doing amazing, and continue doing that. So definitely not looking for I'm going to go and tell them what to do every day. No. Even my personal VA, she looks at my calendar herself. She schedules things, she reschedules things. So she has a full control over it. So she knows what I need to do. And she does it all mostly autonomously. And only if I need something done, I usually ask her. But most of the time she knows her tasks and she just does it. Look at my calendar and my meetings.
And when it comes to creative, when you use VAs, how does that process go? Because creative is such a big part of building a brand, right?
Yeah.
And obviously there's those that can schedule, there's those that know how to video edit. These are very special skill sets, and I would say creative is a different type of skill set. It's much different than, making sure audios are equalized and you put in, the lower thirds, as Lisa always tells me, which I still don't know what exactly they are.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
That's your lower third.
That's a lower third then.
That's a lower third. When a
but
comment comes in, it's a lower.
Got it.
Sorry.
But when it comes to creative, how do you get VAs ramped up for your creative?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think importantly, a lot of people are perfectionists. They want everything to be perfect. They want brand to be perfect, everything to be perfect. I want things to be good. I don't want things to be perfect. I know that what I don't want to do is I don't want to do it myself. Because if I do it myself, it takes a lot of time and it's very painful. I don't want it to be done badly, but I want it to be done good. So I'm okay closing eyes if something is not super ideal. And I had a good example. I hired an amazing girl. She was doing amazingly well, but it was hard to work with her. And so I find another girl who is a little bit not as good. She doesn't have enough that big of an experience, but she does it fast and does it. People like it. So for me, let's say creative social media would be one. I need somebody who understands podcasting. It's a good example. I need somebody who can listen to a podcast, pick the most important pieces, and create some interesting creative around it. That's a goal. If people like it and I don't like it, I might say, okay, as long as people react to it and it resonates with people, that's important. So we have some metrics for creative as well. Like if she creates some creative, we have a metric. We need to improve, like have 10 likes, 5 comments, and stuff like that. So we might have some numbers that we look at, and we're always improving. And if she hits those numbers, and there's nothing there that could like put me in a bad spot, or like miswriting the names of the people, of the guests, or pick up some weird things and writing some weird things, then it's good enough. Because I don't believe in perfection. There are definitely people who might be even better than this girl, and when we get to that level, maybe I'll hire somebody else. But I'm looking for people who are good, and I'm giving them freedom. I'm also telling them what I don't like. I never tell them what I do like, because I like them to surprise me. In creative, they need to do better than I expect. I just tell them the rules of what I don't need. I don't want you to mispronounce the names. I don't want you to put me in a bad spot or my guests in a bad spot. I need to be everything on schedule. I need to have that amount of posts, let's say. Now go and do it. And she does it like... she does a bunch of things, like very, very interesting. If you look at 10 Million Journey Instagram, I'm surprised every day. So she does some polls and she does some cool stuff, guest reveals every week, and she engages. It's very, very interesting. So, and I did not give her any of those ideas. It's all her ideas. And that's what I really, really like.
So when you're talking about having somebody on your team that understands podcasting and they can listen to the episode and kind of create posts from the content that you've shared.
Yeah.
Have you had to take time to train them on like e-commerce and Amazon so that they understand the content a little bit more? And what does that process look like?
No, I haven't. I did not need to train them. I put in my application or job ad, whatever you call it, that I'm looking for somebody who has some experience with e-commerce and worked with Amazon. But mostly I need a perfect English, understanding of English. I always look for somebody who has really, really good English. And then, I don't know, people just pick it up. So if you listen to enough episodes, you will be a pretty good expert. So maybe the first couple of them, you'll make some mistakes, but then she understands for like PPC and all those other things. So she does get it. And she listen to a couple episodes. So first ones, also not looking, the first one would be ideal, but I'm looking for them to be good enough. And then I'm looking for improvement. I always look for people to grow. If they don't grow, then we also have a problem. So she does grow, and it's really good.
Awesome.
And where are we on this journey, on this 10 million journey? How far along are we?
Well, we're not far. Right now, I have 2 products, and third one that was doing amazing, the supplier disappeared. So we're back to 2. The disappear was, I talked about it before. Disappeared with the product, so we're not making that anymore. It's hard to make. So we have 2 products, which are supplements. Every one of them is doing about 100,000 in revenue, which we know revenue doesn't say a lot, but it's about 45 to 50% profit margin. So it's pretty good. So you have 2 products. So let's say they're doing 200,000 together. And the way, I ask every guest, give me an advice. What else would I need to do to grow? And most of them are saying, well, just release more products. And I agree with them. So the supplement market, it's very saturated, and we decided to move out of it to a kitchen brand. So leave those 2 supplements there. And now we're launching a kitchen brand. So 2 products are in production right now. And then we're looking for 2 more products to launch this year. So we're looking to launch 4 more products. And I'm hoping with them to get to about another $400,000, $500,000 with them to bring it up by the end of the year, or probably I'm optimistic. So I don't know, maybe in the next 7 to 8 months to bring it together to about $600,000-$700,000 in revenue, and then from there launch more products, go to different platforms, and scale like that, and then maybe scale different brands or something like that, or scale internationally. So there are a bunch of ways to do it. Some people just go to different markets like Canada and Germany and UK. I think if those products do well, we'll definitely do that. Go multi-platform and launch more products. And then my goal is into 3 to 5 years to just grow it organically, not in a rush. I'm saying 3 to 5 years. I'm ready to have this journey 3 to 5 years to grow it to 10 million, which is numbers game mostly. Yeah. If you can get to 1 million, there's a little bit more involved in terms of teams, but teams is my specialty. So I'm not worried about that much. Yeah. So I think there's definitely a plan, and there's lots of support because I have advice from about 100 people who are best in their game. And yeah, I'm not planning to stop the podcast and do it for 3 to 5 years until I reach 10 million, and then do something else.
I was going to say, I didn't mean to interject earlier, my apologies, but I was going to say we're going to have you back on after you do some of those expansions onto the new platforms and internationally, and just kind of have you on periodically.
Sure. Yeah, I'll be happy to.
And are those 4 other products, because they are pretty different, or at least the kitchen space seems pretty different than the supplement space, are they under the same brand and storefront?
Yes, they are under this and different. They're not a supplement brand is different from those. So there will be 2 brands under one account. One will be a supplement brand, another will be all those 4 products are under the same brand, and they are the same look and feel. We're targeting female 35 to 55 who have houses, big houses, families. So it will be pre-luxury products for housewives, and it will be better than anything in the market. At least what we tested, they like ours better because premium material, looks very slick with cool font. And I have some actually. They send me some samples, and my mate here who helps us out, she loves it, and I love it. I use them all the time, and I think they're very premium. We have a pretty cool kitchen here, and they look amazing. So I'm very, very excited.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's exciting. That's the goal of $100,000. And I just want to clarify: is this $100,000 per product per year?
Yes. Okay. Supplements right now. Supplements are $100,000 per products per year. Yes, but the kitchen products. That's a good question. I don't know. They might fail. They might not. So I'm not. I don't have any. I used to have a lot of projections, but I launched so many products. Some of them are doing very good, some of them are not doing as well, that I stopped doing projections. I'm just certain that we're producing something very, very good, and then we'll go from there. So they can be, one of them can be $1 million, or not, or they can be like all four of them can be nothing. But I'll just keep on launching until we reach something. We have enough capital here from our 2 products right now, because we reinvest everything. That's why I do my IT consultancy. We reinvest everything back in business to grow fast, that we can experiment a little bit. But again, we did all the tests on PickFu, and we did a bunch of research, and I think they will still do okay. It's not like they will completely flop.
And you have
Anthony. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, you have another podcast too, not just the 10 million journey, but the Unusual Jobs. Tell us about that show.
So when I don't know, I like to go big and launch a bunch of things. So I was so excited about podcasts, the 10 million journey, that at some point I was like, I was always wanting to talk to people with very unusual jobs. Like they do, like slaughterhouse workers. Why do people work in a slaughterhouse? Or like I had a pet crematorium worker. A guy works at a pet crematorium. Or I had a comedians, which is not very unusual, but I haven't talked to, like, I had the chance to talk to famous comedian, marine biologist, volcanologist, snake hunters. And it's been about 26, 27 episodes, and I would be just digging deep into professions, hostage survival trainers. So just people doing crazy things, and I always wondered what drives them to do those kind of works. And for me, it's such a pleasure to find, because I'm a very curious person, to find about their professions and to talk to them and just to learn more about what they do. And it was very, very cool. And it's been a year now. I'm launching 1 episode every 2 weeks, and we launched about 26 episodes, and we're going to launch about 20 more, and then we're going to see. And I had all kinds of people. The only one I didn't have is adult entertainer yet, because I scheduled about 4 of them, and some of them asked for money, and some of them just said no. And I was like, that's weird, because everyone else is ready to talk to me apart from this demographic. So if there's adult entertainers listening to us, I'm happy to talk to you and ask about your job.
That is hilarious.
I know.
There's a lot of jokes that can be made from that. I hope you get a comedian after that.
Yeah, for real.
No, that's awesome. I did not know that.
Yeah,
well, and we're going to link. I was going to say, we're going to link both of the shows in the description of the video and in the audio experience. But, podcasting is so huge. We've started this in the last couple of months. You started yours, a year and a half ago. And with running 2 shows, that's an incredible amount of work and time and investment. And obviously, you had to have learned a lot in doing it. So what would be your biggest piece of advice for somebody who is looking into getting into podcasting?
Processes. Just don't do everything yourself. I mean, you'll get burned out very quickly. So definitely have people who will take care of things that you don't like. I'm not good at editing. I'm not good at social media. I'm not good at publishing. I don't know how to do any of this. So I recommend having somebody help you out. And then spend your time preparing. I always prepare for every guest I have. I listen to 2 things. I also have a VA actually finding unusual notes about the guests and also doing some preparations. So I guess I have the whole team to prepare for every guest that I'm talking to. And I most of the time know everything about the guests before they even come to a show, which makes it very fluid. I'll do the face-to-face. Recently, I started doing Bali. Like, I'm renting a studio. I'm doing face-to-face with a bunch of Bali entrepreneurs. There's so many amazing people. That's the next level. I highly recommend doing that. So at least sometimes just meet people face-to-face, talk to them, and it's just a different vibe. It's so cool, and you have to go for dinner or lunch afterwards. It's just amazing. So I've been blessed. I did about 20 episodes face-to-face already with different Bali entrepreneurs, and it's most of them are not e-commerce even sellers, but it's so cool to talk to people here face to face that went through like huge journeys, made millions of dollars, and are on the top of their game, and it's really, really cool. So it'll be another tip to try face to face.
I would love
Yeah.
to do that. You don't have to worry about like the internet delays and oh man, that would be great. Take the show on the road.
Nice. Take it to
Yeah.
Bali. No, they
Take
don't
it to
wanna see
Bali. We'll do one. I have a good studio here, so we'll figure it out.
That's
awesome.
fantastic. Well,
Yeah,
Anatoly, go ahead.
Sorry. I was going to say, this is I appreciate the honesty, and I say it to a few of our guests. I appreciate the honesty that you have behind what you actually talk about. The fact that you don't like working, for example, is hilarious to me. Having 2 podcasts, running an IT consulting firm, and having your own Amazon business with launching new products, I find that absolutely hilarious. So I appreciate that.
Yeah,
The authenticity is refreshing.
Yeah,
for sure.
Thank you. Thank you. That's what I'm trying to bring. I mean, that's the biggest praise people can tell me, because all I do is just I do from my heart, and I'm not shy to talk about failures or successes. And I always say I'm not a guru, I'm not like a super coach or anything. I'm just in a journey as everyone else, and no different from any other person on the street.
Well, and we're so happy that you came on the show and shared your experiences and your story with us. So thank you again for being with us. We are at our hour mark, but we are absolutely going to have you on the show again. We'll have to meet with you quarterly or something like that. Get that on the
Let's
books.
do it. All right. Yeah. Thank you for inviting. It was amazing. And let's do it again.
Oh, of course. Absolutely. And thank you for everybody watching and rewatching. If you liked what you heard today, be sure to give us a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, share with your friends. It helps other people find the show and learn valuable lessons and actionable insights from leaders in supply chain and e-commerce, just like Anatoly. So thank you so much. Hopefully you get a bunch of new subscribers to your shows as well, because again, we're going to link those.
Let's do it. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
And we will talk to everybody tomorrow, actually. So thank you all again.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
Bye.